Wait.
I'm just going live on YouTube. So one second.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for another live event from the New Lines Institute for Strategy and Policy, formerly known as the Centre for Global Policy. My name is Azim Ibrahim, and I am a director here at the New Lines Institute. It's absolutely wonderful to see so many faces, certainly half faces. Unfortunately, due to the restrictions, we obviously could not occupy the hall in full, but I understand lots of you are joining in, tuning in live online, and welcome to each and every single one of you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Rohingya minority has been described by the United Nations as the most persecuted minority in the world. For over half a century, they have faced wave after wave of violence, which culminated in the 2017 genocide, which forced over 700,000 Rohingya refugees into Bangladesh, bringing the total up to over 1 million in Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh. Now, many of you are veterans of the refugee and aid work around the globe, and I know many of you may have visited the camps in Bangladesh, as I have. And no matter how experienced you are, it is a horrifying sight. Over 1 million refugees in one place, and you can climb the highest hill. They are spread over the horizon. And this is a situation that Bangladesh did not ask for. So with the recent events in the news that we've seen in Myanmar with the coup and the military takeover, what does the future now hold for the Rohingya? What is the probability of them being repatriated and returning to their homeland, as they all require, as they all want? You know, are they going to become a permanent fixture in Bangladesh? And what role can the United States, the United Nations, and other entities, international entities, play to facilitate this and help Bangladesh and to help the Rohingya? It's a great honor and privilege for us to have here today the Foreign Minister of Bangladesh, the Honourable Dr. A.K. Abdul Monem, MP. Dr. Monem has had a very illustrious and accomplished career. Before he was appointed the Foreign Minister of Bangladesh, he was the Bangladesh's permanent representative to the United Nations from 2009 to 2015. And whilst he was in that position, he also served as the acting president of the UN General Assembly and also as the president of UNICEF. He graduated from Dhaka University. He also holds an MPA from Harvard University, an MBA and a PhD in economics from United States. And whilst we talk about persecuted minorities, Dr. Monem himself is no stranger to persecution. In 1971, during Bangladesh's War of Liberation, he himself was captured and tortured by the occupation army. And that is what motivated him to enter into politics. And since assuming office, he has been promoting economic diplomacy that proposes to have more investment, more trade, gainful employment, and maintaining peace and stability throughout the region. So welcome to you, Foreign Minister. So the format of today's presentation will be the Foreign Minister will deliver remarks for 5 to 10 minutes, after which I will ask him questions which I have received online and through the audience, and then we will open it up to the audience, the live audience here. So Dr. Monem, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Mr. Azim. And I would like to thank all the audience here who is participating in physical and as well as those through virtual, the modern virtual system, the new normal. Good morning. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. At the outset, I thank the New Lines Institute on Strategy and Policy for organizing this event today on a very important issue that is not only important for Bangladesh and the United States, but also for the peace and stability of the world. I take this opportunity to once again acknowledge the strong political support and humanitarian assistance that we are receiving from our friend, especially the United States of America, before and since the mass exodus of Rohingyas towards the Bangladesh in August 2017. We are in the fourth year of that mass displacement of Rohingyas. More than 3 years back in 2017, when these persecuted people of Myanmar were fleeing en masse from violence, persecution, atrocities, and crime against humanity at the hands of their own people in their own country. It was Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina who opened the border and saved their lives. We are the first responder to have extended all kinds of humanitarian support to nearly 1.1 million Rohingyas, providing space, food, safety, security, health facilities, even before the humanitarian community stepped in. On the part of a small country like Bangladesh, with a large population and limited resources, it was indeed a huge humanitarian gesture and a daunting task that no second country was willing to shoulder. Since then, we have been hosting nearly 1.1 million Rohingya. During the recent drifted boats episode, it was again Bangladesh to have rescued the Rohingyas in peril and provided them shelter and care to the best of our ability. Despite our resource constraint, we have ensured the safety and well-being of the displaced Rohingyas. Because of the timely intervention of the government of Bangladesh and our engagement with the UN agencies and partner countries, the pandemic in the congested camps could be kept under control. Rohingya are Myanmar nationals, and as the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, mentioned in her 75th UNGA session, and I quote, "The problem was created by Myanmar, and its solution must be found in Myanmar," unquote. Since Bangladesh is disproportionately and unjustly suffering because of this crisis, its urgent resolution is our utmost priority. For urgent resolution of this crisis, I would like to flag the following points. First, Bangladesh is not in a position to continue to take this burden anymore. The Rohingya must return to the country of origin as soon as possible. We must remember that they are here only on a temporary basis. The cost of hosting them on our society, security, resources, economy, environment, and ecology is huge, immeasurable, and in some cases irreversible. The situation is increasingly becoming untenable both for the Rohingyas and the host community. Second, the Rohingyas themselves want to return to their homeland at the earliest opportunity. International community should sincerely work to create that opportunity for their safe and dignified return. Third, under the bilateral agreement signed between Bangladesh and Myanmar, our neighbor, the repatriation was to commence in January 2018, and Myanmar committed to create conducive environment for the repatriation of the Rohingyas in dignity and in safety. Despite our sincere efforts, the commencement of repatriation still remains highly uncertain due to lack of decisive action on the part of Myanmar. Rather, atrocities and violence continue in the Rakhine and Chin states, together with Myanmar's attempts to falsify, misrepresent facts, make unsubstantiated claims, and lay unjustifiable blame on Bangladesh to deny its own obligations and thereby misguide the international community. The world witnessed yet another round of such effort on the part of Myanmar during the 75th General Assembly this year. Fourthly, a lack of progress in repatriation in the last 3 years led to widespread frustrations and hopelessness among the Rohingyas. Growing involvement of Rohingya in the camps, in Cox's Bazar, in criminal activities, drug trafficking, and even human trafficking, and the recent episode of perilous journey in the sea for better future elsewhere are clear manifestations of the mounting despair. Further, delay in repatriation may frustrate the displaced Rohingyas and entice them to fall in an easy prey to human trafficking, radicalization, and other dangerous ventures. Peace and prosperity of the region hinges critically on the success in ensuring sustainable return and reintegration of all these displaced persons in their places of origin. Fifth, international community has a responsibility to work with Myanmar to resolve this crisis and relieve Bangladesh from the burden of Myanmar that Myanmar has created. While we appreciate the humanitarian assistance of the international community, including the United States, and we also call upon to engage with Myanmar in a meaningful way to ensure the creation of a conducive environment in the Rakhine State. Till today, there is no safety and security, no freedom of movement, of livelihood options in the Rakhine State. Educate international presence and humanitarian assistance in the place of return is critical to support repatriation and reintegration. As you are aware, Bangladesh has agreed to allow education for the Rohingya children through Myanmar's curriculum in Myanmar language so that they could be easily reintegrated into the Myanmar society on their return. A similar education program in Myanmar must be taken for Rohingyas so that after return, they can be smoothly reintegrated in the Myanmar society. Sixth, during the past three UN General Assembly sessions, the Honorable Prime Minister of Bangladesh has placed a number of concrete proposals. Had those been implemented, the crisis could have resolved by this time. While the Rohingya in the camps want to return to Myanmar, they are not confident that after return they would not be persecuted, that their basic rights should be guaranteed. This necessitated to undertake confidence-building measures involving ASEAN and other neighboring countries as well as relevant UN agencies. We call it ASEAN++, whose civilian confidence builders can undertake activities related to soft infrastructure projects, skill development, health, medical, and education for Rohingyas in the Rakhine State. Such activities would make Rohingya confident of their safety in Myanmar and may encourage them to return. Unhindered humanitarian assistance is undoubtedly important for the sustenance of the displaced people. However, helping the Rohingyas return to their homeland in Myanmar would be the real and most valuable service to this persecuted community. We look forward to firm commitments and concrete proposals for a durable solution from this event. On accountability, Myanmar has a long history of persecuting and driving away its own people, especially Rohingya, from the country in the pretext of security operations. This must end and be rejected. The culture of impunity has taken a deep root in Myanmar due to the country's lack of willingness to bring the perpetrators to justice. Business as usual approach of the international community in relation to Myanmar is only embodying Myanmar to maintain the status quo and inflict further atrocities on its own minorities. For a durable solution to this Rohingya crisis, the culture of impunity in Myanmar must be stopped, vigorously pursuing accountability and justice through the international judicial mechanisms. Unfortunately, the appeasement policy that being pursued globally vis-a-vis Myanmar to increase bilateral trade, investment, and development assistance only encourages Myanmar to flout the decisions of international mechanisms and continue mass atrocities and repressive onslaught on its very own people. This is very frustrating that in the name of appeasement to Myanmar, unreasonable pressures are being mounted on Bangladesh, threatening its sovereignty and security. The role of the United Nations in saving humanity from hell is also not visible in this in its policy actions towards Myanmar. To avert the risks of death due to landslide and to decongest the camps, an island named Bashanchor at the proximity of the mainland has been developed with proper infrastructure and enhanced facilities at an expenditure of 350 million from our own resources for the temporary reallocation about 100,000 Rohingyas from camps at Cox's Bazar. In addition, for ensuring better security of the camps and the host population, the government has started fencing around the camps. We are expecting to complete this project soon. We want to assure all stakeholders that on security measures, we are not in a position to compromise. Taking any lax measures on security issues would only be counterproductive. As you know, we have accommodated 1.1 million Rohingya and 840,000 in 32 camps in Cox's Bazar. And if you consider in terms of density, it means 84,000 people live per square mile in those camps. 84,000 people. Can you ever think of so many people living in one little place? Highest in the world. So normally at 5,000 or 6,000, the highest density of population in Macau or in Hong Kong or in Singapore. But in the Kotupalong, 84,000 people per square mile has been living. We don't want them to be suffocated and die of suffocation. And therefore, we plan to take some of them to one of the islands that we have. We don't have much scope to reallocate them because Bangladesh is already one of the most densely populated countries in the world. So we have very little options. In conclusion, I would say that unhindered humanitarian assistance is undoubtedly important for the sustenance of the displaced and these persecuted people. However, helping the Rohingyas return to their home in Myanmar would be the real and most valuable service to this persecuted community. We look forward to firm commitments and concrete proposals for a durable solution from this event. The United States, the most powerful nation in the world in terms of political clout and might, economic strength and military power, and cultural influence, needs to undertake further concrete steps and leading role both bilaterally and multilaterally to compel reaching a sustainable solution of this decades-old crisis devastating the most persecuted population in the world. This is Bangladesh's strong expectation from the new administration of Joe Biden. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Foreign Minister. You made some very, very clear, salient remarks there. I think your determination to ensure that the Rohingya have a safe and dignified return is very clear. And more importantly, that is obviously what the Rohingya desire themselves. And as you're aware, Myanmar is now once again in the news. And I just want to ask you this question about shortly after the coup, Myanmar reportedly wrote to Bangladesh about how the repatriation process will move forward. And on February 6th, after the coup, you told the Dhaka Tribune that this is a good beginning. Now, my question is, what did you mean by that, and how would you describe the coup and the junta's response to the peaceful protesters, and how has Bangladesh's view changed of the repatriation process? Have you been in touch with the military? Because now you have a situation in which the architects of the genocide are in control, full control of the country.
As you know, we have been trying very hard from day one for the deportation of these persecuted people. We made arrangements with our neighbor, Myanmar, and they agreed to take them back. We demanded their safety and security. Myanmar agreed to provide them safety and security. Myanmar also agreed to create conducive environment in the Rakhine state for their voluntary, safe, and dignified return. But 4 years almost is now, not a single Rohingya has gone back. We tried bilaterally, we tried multilaterally, we tried trilaterally, we even went to the ICJ court. Nothing worked. But however, in the last year, initially 2019, there was a trilateral meeting between Bangladesh, China, and Myanmar at the behest of China. And then it was decided that there would be a committee to monitor and enforce implementation of repatriation. Accordingly, there has been a meeting. And last year, 20th January, we had a meeting at the secretariat level. The meeting has some positive outcome. As you know, earlier we planned to repatriate them in 2 other events, but Rohingya didn't like to go. We don't want to force anyone. It is a voluntary return. Rohingya didn't like to go because they don't trust the Myanmar government. There is a trust deficit between these Rohingya and the Myanmar government. So we suggested Myanmar, we made 3 proposals. First, we said for confidence building, to reduce the trust deficit, let Myanmar officials come and meet these persecuted people in Bangladesh camps. They came only once. And when they came, they were questioned, they were overburdened with questions from the Rohingyas. And since then, they don't come. We made another proposal that they can create a safe haven inside Rakhine province to be monitored, not by military personnel, but non-military civilian observers from their own friendly countries, from ASEAN, non-military civilian observers. They can be from ASEAN, they can be from China, they can be from India, they can be from their own friendly countries. Basically to assure these Rohingya that besides Myanmar army, there is some other people who will be observing, monitoring, to create confidence. Myanmar never replied to it. Then there was another proposal, initially forwarded by Indonesian Foreign Minister, Ratna, and that was, there are some leaders within this community, Rohingya community. An argument is, let them go and visit the environment that has been created in the Rakhine state. Let them take their cell phone, leave their family here. Once they go back, and if they find it is safe and secure, then they can call their families and then repatriation can start. Myanmar did not respond. However, the last year when we met on 20th of January, only thing they agreed, Myanmar agreed, they will create a booklet in their own language to distribute among the Rohingya, the camp people, so that they get some assurance that they are working for them. But after that event, there was COVID, and then there was election. Due to these excuses, they never met again. Fortunately, this year, only January 20th again, there was the second meeting. And in that meeting, they agreed they will sit again on the 4th of February. 4th of February this year. But by 1st of February, there is a military coup. Once there is a military coup, we don't know much about it. Only the new government, military government, they sent out a note verbal to all the missions in their country, stating that, basically arguing why they have to take over. And they said 10.5 million voters, there was a rigged voting and all those things. And later on, we came to know from the Rohingya people and from the news media that the new commanders and generals, they met the Rohingya people in IDP camp in Rakhine and assured them their safety and security. And they discussed the issues with the elders of Rohingya and assured them that they will be allowed mobility within the country step by step. And as a result, there was euphoria in our Rohingya camps. And later on, we came to know from a television announcement in Myanmar that the military government said that they will honor the agreement and commitment that has been made with other countries by the previous government. So that much we know. We don't have any direct communication with the new government.
So there's been no direct assurance?
So no direct communication. So we are in an uncertain world.
Right.
We don't know where we are leading.
Yeah.
But our fear is, if this problem, the Rohingya problem, if they stay in our land for a very long time, without much economic activity, without any hope for repatriation, because all of them want to go back, and without any hope of repatriation, then there could be pockets of radicalism. And if there is terrorists and radicals, these people don't have any nationality, they don't have any faith. They will inflict governments and institutions creating uncertainty. And it will not only create uncertainty in Kutupalong, it will create uncertainty in Myanmar, Bangladesh, in entire region. And therefore, the investment flow that is coming to Myanmar for many countries, Japan, USA, whole European countries, over the last 4 years, the trade and investment to Myanmar has increased manifold. Even the USA has not withdrawn its GSP facility to the Myanmar in spite of cleansing operations and near genocide. So the problem is, if there is radicalism, it will create uncertainty in the region, and that may lead a problem for everybody in the planet Earth.
No, thank you so much. It seems to me, Foreign Minister, that the proposals that have been put forward by the Bangladeshi government, they all seem extremely reasonable. They seem extremely realistic, having observers from ASEAN countries and third-party countries, having Rohingya elders go in advance to make observations. And it seems that the Myanmar government is not reciprocating in serious faith. So do you think that now that the military is in power in Myanmar, the probability seems, I think, to most observers to have diminished to enter any sort of repatriation?
It depends on the international pressure, the global pressure. If there is global pressure on Myanmar, I have a hope that even the military government in Myanmar will be forced to take their people back. There has been historical, the incidences. In 1978, there was a military government in Myanmar. In 1992, there was a military government in Myanmar. On those days, there was economic sanction on Myanmar. And Myanmar was friendless, and they were under a lot of pressure. As a result, in 1992, they took back around, out of 253,000, they basically repatriated around 230,000. Same in 1998. There was military government, but under international pressure, they took around 200,000 of their people back. So I have a hope, even under the military government currently, if there is international pressure, then they will be forced to repatriate their people back home. And I must say that, we had a high expectation of the democratic government of Aung San Suu Kyi. I personally, myself, demonstrated for her release when she was in jail in the earlier period. And we did it not only once, many times. We had high hopes of her. But unfortunately, when she is in the power, under her own watch, the persecution happened. Under her own watch, ethnic cleansing and near genocide happened. This is unacceptable. And therefore, we are really disappointed.
Yeah. You said you're expecting pressure, hopefully forthcoming from the international community on Myanmar to facilitate the repatriation. But surely the international community, we are seeing the news every single day, protests are increasing, violence against civilians are increasing. Surely their attitude would be, well, at least the Rohingya, are safe in Bangladesh. They are not facing violence, because almost all civilians in Myanmar are facing violence. So surely they would say that this is probably not the best time to repatriate them.
The future of these Rohingya people lies in living in their own countries. Within last 2 years, there has been around 118,000 newborn. And besides, there are a large number of young people. They are without school. And it is very painful for us. But what can we do? We wanted to provide them education, and they must learn their language. They must learn the Myanmar culture. Unfortunately, we don't have the teachers. Neither UNESCO or anyone could arrange those. Now they are going to be a lost generation. Now going back to your question, you see, they are currently safe in Bangladesh. We are doing whatever is at our disposal to protect them, to provide them safety. But the problem is, initially the local community, the refugees are 3 times of the local community. And local community being, harshly affected. As a result, they are not that much happy anymore. And we are afraid from time to time there could be, some sort of conflict between the locals and the Rohingya. Already, within the Rohingya, because they are frustrated, they have no hope, and therefore, at times they are creating criminal activities, fighting each other. And in future, this might, increase. And therefore, the only durable solution is repatriation back to their country of origin. And there, the entire world community should come forward. Unfortunately, till today, other than little assistance for their food, no political or otherwise, is forthcoming that much.
Foreign Minister, we had a discussion yesterday in which you highlighted your visit to Washington, and it seemed to have been very successful. You've had discussions with the new Secretary of State, Tony Blinken. You met with the Secretary John Kerry and multiple senators and members of Congress. What kind of commitments did you get from the United States to assist in this process?
Yeah, I'm lucky that I had a meeting with Secretary of State Blinken. I had meeting with few other senators and congressmen. And since the new administration, the Joe Biden administration, there is a euphoria that since Biden administration has said they will give more emphasis to human rights. And so therefore there is hope. And under that banner, I hope that new administration could put a lot of pressure. I have suggested to the new administration to create a position of a special envoy for Rohingya in order to monitor the developments and put pressure on them and to find out ways and means as to how to resolve these issues. And I think if the US administration creates such an office of a special envoy for Rohingya, possibly this, the minority people would be, rescued, or at least we can give them hope, some hope of, better living for them.
Excellent. I think one of the most common questions I've received when I announced that we'll be holding this event is about the Rohingya being moved to Bhasan Char. Okay. You've obviously addressed that, and it's understandable. I've been to Cox's Bazar myself many times. The conditions are difficult, for the Rohingya and for Bangladesh. But this is something I think many people are deeply concerned about.
Do we have a little, picture on it, on Bhasan Char we can show? Yeah, let me tell you. You see, Bhasan Char is not a permanent solution. It is a very temporal solution. And why we had to do it, we did it because, as I said, so many people are living in a little small place in Kut. You have seen that. And their only thing they can do, we provide food and they eat, and nothing else. The children are growing without any space to move around. In this tutted, polythene homes, 10, 12 are living. It is not a living. It is not a living. We feel pain about it. We had that experience in 1971 when we were forced out of our own country of Bangladesh. We lived there, we never liked that one, you see. So out of our, his miserable history, we opened our borders to them when no one was coming up. So many people died, around 25,000 Rohingya was killed, around 100,000 of their houses were destroyed, and 115,000 houses were burned down. At the time, since nobody was coming and the girls are being raped, we have to open out of humanitarian consideration. With the hope, because even in the past, Myanmar took them back under international pressure. So now when they came to Kutupalong, which we have visited, it is overcrowded. And there was, Bangladesh faces monsoon a lot. We face these tidal waves and cyclone from time to time. We are always, you know, the most climatically vulnerable country. And we know how to live with it. Anyway, so there was a monsoon, and as a result, there was a landslide for which many of those Rohingya houses were destroyed and many died. So to avert future crisis, risks of life, we decided we'll decongest, we'll take around 100,000 of them to one of our best islands. Bashanchar is one of the best islands, one of the largest islands. Out of 75 islands that we have, it is a very big island, 40 square kilometer, 10 times of that of St. Martin Island. So we took them there. We planned to take them, but many international NGOs, they were reluctant to go there. They would like to, because the Kutupalang, the Cox's Bazar, this is our resort area. We have all the 4-star, 5-star hotels in that area. And we have a longest natural 60-mile long beach in Cox's Bazar. So these international agencies and others, whoever go there, they like to live in that beautiful place. And the Kutupalang area is around 10-15 minutes from the main Cox's Bazar, the beautiful facility. So they would like to stay there. So they were not willing to go. We negotiated with them almost 2 years, but and we found that situation is becoming untenable because their criminal activity was increasing, fighting within the groups are increasing, drug trafficking shoot up, and even human trafficking started becoming, a problem for us. So therefore, we decided to take, and we asked them. And those who went to Bashanchar, all are voluntary, on the voluntary basis. We told them that you want to go, they agreed to go. Once those people go, they requested their family and neighbors to go back to, to go to Bashanchar. And this is how, until now, there are only 11,000 of them, and they're very happy. That's why I want to show you a picture. Yeah. And there, they have something else to do. They have a better life because they can do some economic activity, they can do agriculture, they can do farming, they can do fishing, they can do rearing of goats or cows. In Bashanchar, there are around 15,000, 20,000 buffaloes moving around, and it's a good place. I would have this, we would like to make it a great resort because there is year-round, fresh water. There is a beautiful lake for year-round, what should I say, water skiing. It's a beautiful place. So that's why those who have come, they're very happy. And we have made arrangements for, hospitalizations and all other. So this is what it is. We have taken them just as a temporal phenomenon. Permanent solution is return to their homeland. Yeah. That's the only solution. Problem created by Myanmar, solution lies with Myanmar. And the solution is, a durable solution is repatriation to their own land.
Yeah, I think the concern, for many NGOs from the United Nations is that people will not be forced to go to Bashanchar, but you've clearly indicated
nobody's forced.
They can come back and forth to visit the family. And also, obviously, under COVID, it's very difficult, but, you allow international observers, journalists to come and visit, even myself.
They can go. I should say, ask the international observers and UNHCR and others. They should concentrate on Rakhine State. They should visit Rakhine State more often. International observers and the human rights activists, they should go to Myanmar and observe the living of those people in Rakhine State. Instead of coming to... In Bangladesh, we are giving them as much facilities as possible. That is humanly possible for a country like Bangladesh. They must not be worried with Bangladesh. Their attention should be, Myanmar. They are the one who created this problem. They are the one who created this genocide, and they should put their efforts and all efforts on Myanmar, not on Bangladesh. But unfortunately, I see the focus of many of those international organizations more on Bashanchar. These are trivial matters. Bashanchar is only for a few days. Eventually, they have to go back. There is no alternative to it. Bangladesh cannot afford them to keep them in Bangladesh. You see, Bangladesh, as I said, per kilometer, 1,200 people lives in Bangladesh. Highest density of population as a country in Bangladesh. And again, 26% of our land is always underwater during the rainy season, during the monsoon time. So it's a very difficult place. We are surviving, but it's a very difficult place. Where countries which has relatively less population, let's say stock of Scandinavian countries, they have around 15 or 20 people per square mile. Or in USA, it's around 40 people per square mile. They can afford, and their economy is so strong that they can afford to save humanity. It is a question of saving humanity. After all, they're human beings. Although in Myanmar, because of the spread of venom of hatred and intolerance, these people are being considered as insects, not human beings. These Rohingyas are being considered by, at times I feel very strange that some of the activists now in the website, they say they feel bad that they have been considering their own people, Rohingya, as insects. Now they are realizing when the military took over. So I hope others will realize. These are after all human beings, and they should be protected. They must be given a life to lead, a better life to live, and the global leadership should come forward. Those who talk more about humanity, they should come forward and take care of them. Why Bangladesh has not taken the sole responsibility, the monopoly responsibility of saving Rohingyas all across the globe? It is not our only responsibility. Other countries should come forward. I get ashamed when I am being requested to take Rohingyas on the high sea beyond our maritime border. Yeah, this week, there are 90 people found in 1,700 kilometers away from Bangladesh, 147 kilometers away from India, and we are being requested to take them to our land. Why? Have we taken the contract or monopoly to rehabilitate all the Rohingyas all across the world or all the boat people of the earth? No. Other countries should come forward. And more so those who make more noise about it, they should show the leadership role and the path towards humanity.
Foreign Minister, we have a question here from Professor John Packer, who's a renowned international jurist. He's also the convener of the Rohingya Legal Forum here at New Lines Institute. And he asks that in September 2019, the Gambia announced its intention to commence a case against Myanmar at the ICJ for violating the Genocide Convention, and they called other states to join this. Now, news from Gambia is that they are struggling financially and they're internally fragile. Are you now in favour of other countries joining this case?
Of course.
And because at the earlier stages, I believe Bangladesh was not so enthusiastic because you wanted to have a bilateral agreement to repatriate them. But since the possibilities of that are looking more complicated, do you encourage other states to step in and join the Gambia action?
Number one is Gambia. Gambia, on behalf of OIC, we are grateful to them, we are thankful to them. They took the lead. And they went to ICJ court. And they got one provisional judgment, which is very good. But unfortunately, Myanmar basically ignored it. I'm thankful to the OIC countries because they took some initiatives. But Gambia is not a rich country. And the case costs a lot of money. And I should welcome other countries to come forward to help Gambia in mitigating this cost. Till today, the number of countries who came forward to help Gambia is around only 11 countries, and most of them are not that rich. So I will appeal all the countries to come forward, those who believe in accountability, those who think about that the culprit should be punished, and they think there must be some accountability, they should come forward and help Gambia in resolving, in helping them to continue that case with the ICJ. And now I would also appeal other countries that they should rise to the occasion. And because we always say, then never again. When we don't want to see another Auschwitz, we don't want to see another genocide. But we always say, never again. But unfortunately, when such happens, we never put that much emphasis for accountability. I may be the new administration of US, they should come forward very strongly on this issue. There must be accountability. Unless there accountability, we may see it from time to time. This sort of atrocities, this sort of cleansing, not only in Myanmar, maybe in other places. So it is time for the global leadership and other countries to come forward and be united on this issue. That we must, those the culprit, they must face the justice for their criminal activities. They should come forward. Yeah. And I agree. I appeal all other countries to help Gambia and also help Bangladesh in that case. Mm-hmm. We are not a rich country and we cannot afford. We don't have the responsibility of the whole world to ensure accountability. We don't.
Particularly considering Bangladesh's own experience with genocide. Bangladesh's own experience with genocide. You have extensive experience. So
we tried our own way.
Yeah, yeah.
And we tried in a way that is most fair and judicious and better than that of Nuremberg.
Yeah.
Because we allowed the criminals to appeal and also to defense with their all witnesses. And this is that was not done in case of Nuremberg or even in the Rwanda case.
Yeah. So a similar question, Foreign Minister, following up, is that without a doubt, Bangladesh is by far the country that's incurred the most direct and substantial damages or injury from Myanmar's genocide against the Rohingya. Now, with the ICJ case, there's a prospect of establishing and repatriating the Rohingya, but there's also a prospect of compensation towards Bangladesh for this action. Can you identify the extent and the value of the injuries suffered by Bangladesh that you can pursue with the ICJ?
You see, we helped Rohingya out of humanity. And the costing could come later on. Let's, work on accountability. And if we can go through it, then can we talk about the other issues. We didn't help them because of compensation. We helped them out of a love for humanity. You see, Bangladesh is a leader in the world. In Bengal is a leader in the world in terms of humanity. Even before America was discovered in 1492, even before Renaissance started in Europe in 17th century, in Bengal, we started a campaign as early as 1408 that Shabar upore manushotto tahar upore nai means, it's in Bengali, it means humanity is above all. Humanity is above all. And it is Bangladesh which promoted a campaign even in the UN, because there have been violence, there has been terrorism, there have been war and terror. We found out the basic reason for this war, terror, violence is a mindset of intolerance, is a mindset of disrespect towards others. And therefore we promoted a resolution in the UN which has been approved with consensus by 193 countries. The resolution was known as culture of peace. The very essence of culture of peace is we like to inculcate a mindset among people, a mindset of respect towards others, mindset of tolerance toward others, and to eliminate ignore mindset of respect toward others irrespective of religion, culture, ethnicity, color. And if we can do that, we can create a world of create a sustainable world of peace. And then you don't look forward Black Lives Matters or all those things. This will be all eliminated. There won't be refugees. Now this year around, as I understand, around 80 million people have been uprooted from their homes. Those things will not happen. Even Rohingya has been uprooted from their home because over the last so many years, few decades, there has been spread of venom of hatred against this minority people. And that culminated in the genocide or cleansing. So Bangladesh is a leader in that. And we want to establish that humanity is above all, irrespective of religion, culture, ethnicity, and color. And if we can do it, my friend, I can assure you, we can have a sustainable world of peace and stability.
Thanks so much. And with that, I'll open it up to the floor. If you can use the microphone there. Don't touch the microphone, but if you can step up to the microphone. Kelly.
Am I tall? I'm not sure I'm tall enough to
So-
talk to the microphone.
Yeah, so Kelly Curry, the former US ambassador to the United Nations.
Hi,
You can come closer to the microphone.
can I, well, I'm going to let him lower it. I don't think I can getting closer is not going to help. I'm too short.
Okay.
It's nice to see you again, Foreign Minister Momin. I know we've worked together on this issue over many years, and I continue to appreciate the passion and the integrity that you and the Bangladeshi leadership brings to the efforts to provide humanitarian assistance and safe haven to the Rohingya people. I know that it has put an incredible burden on the people of Bangladesh, and it has been a very challenging situation for you since August 2017, and even before, when you were continuing to host refugees who had fled previous incidents of violence against them in Rakhine State in 2016 and 2012. And many of the people who came out in 2017 were coming out for the third time in some cases, or for multiple times that they have fled their homes, and had been repatriated, as you noted, in previous incidents where the Myanmar authorities had allowed for repatriation. Obviously, returns are a huge part of the durable solution, but the challenge is that the Myanmar authorities control the two factors that make returns at this point very, very difficult and unlikely, and that is security and identity for the people who would need to go back. Given that those things are exclusively within the control of the Myanmar authorities, and in most cases within the control of the military, which has shown a propensity to use those things over time, to play around with them for political purposes, and that is the core of the problem. I think you noted that it is important to see that some people in the protest movement have recognized that they were wrong in the past about their attitude toward not just the Rohingya, but toward other ethnic nationalities in Burma. So there is a potential here for a change in attitude and a rebuilding of Burmese identity around a multi-ethnic, multinational state. But that's a long process, obviously. In the meantime, you cannot continue to host 1 million people in Bangladesh, as you very eloquently pointed out. We've tried, I think the United States has tried over the past 4 years, and the international community has tried to put pressure on the Myanmar authorities, but they have been able to resist it in large part because China and Russia have protected them in the Security Council, as you know, and provided outlets for and created a competitive environment for influence within Myanmar. How do you see China's role in this? You talked about the trilateral engagement that they have coordinated between Bangladesh and Myanmar. So far, those engagements have led to some empty promises on the part of Myanmar, but not a lot of pressure by China to fulfill those things. Do you see that China is as post-coup, is in a better or worse position to do this? And do you think that it's possible that that China is an honest broker in this trilateral engagement? And with that, I'll cede the floor back. Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am. I didn't get the whole question, but I understand the last part, that, whether the Chinese, could, help us out in resolving this Myanmar issue. Is that right? Okay. Yeah, you have a point, Chinese have a lot of influence on Myanmar. And I don't know how much, but they do exert a lot of influence on Myanmar. And at least the Chinese have been supporting Myanmar, even all those wars. Throughout, if you look at it, they have been even willing to put veto for Myanmar. So this is very sad, irrespective of what the issue Chinese is behind the Myanmar. So now, naturally, our expectation is that if we approach China, and if they are willing, if they meditate on that, possibly there could be some gainful result. No wonder Bangladesh approached China. And China told us that they would like to help us. Okay? So that's why you have a trilateral meeting. In the UN, you have people last year. Chinese foreign minister, myself, and the Myanmar minister. And there we agreed, Chinese said, and Myanmar also, they said, they agreed to take their people back after verification. It's fine. But there is no progress. And our fear is there is no political commitment in Naypyidaw, in Myanmar. And one reason is the Myanmar since see that they can ignore anyone. And even looks like they can ignore China. I don't know. I don't know. That's up to you. But you see, this is very strange. Another big friend of Myanmar is Japan. Japan is heavily investing in Myanmar. There is a competition of investment in Myanmar between few countries. Our neighbor, then China and Japan, they're all investing in Myanmar. So we thought they may have some leverage to deal with Myanmar. And we tried those paths, but till today, no progress. Progress is minimal, I should say. No progress, not true. Minimal progress. Not a single Rohingya has gone back. So we need to convince China, that they should put pressure on Myanmar. And if they don't put pressure on Myanmar, they should pay for it, one way or the other. And that only international leadership can do, not us. Thank you.
Yep. It's a question from Simon from the International Rohingya Campaign,
Okay.
Campaign for the Rohingya.
Thank you. I'm Simon Billanes. I'm with the International Campaign for the Rohingya. And once again, I'd like to thank Bangladesh for taking in the Rohingya and doing so as you said, as a humanitarian, for humanitarian reasons, not for any kind of recompense. And so I want to extend our thanks to Bangladesh for doing that and for keeping the Rohingya safe and secure in Bangladesh. We're also part of the No Business with Genocide Coalition. And we agree that there should be no business as usual and no investment as usual with a country that conducts genocide against its own people. And also, particularly, there should be no business as usual with a military that is the architect and executor of this genocide. And so we've been putting pressure on companies, no matter where they're headquartered, to stop doing business with the Myanmar military. Recently, we saw a big success. You mentioned Japan, and I totally agree. Japan is a big factor. Japan's diplomacy in Burma is all about their commercial interests. And we put enough consumer, shareholder, media pressure on Kirin to end its partnership with the Myanmar military. And we're going to do the same for every other company that's doing business with the Myanmar military, and we're going to press every government around the world to put tough sanctions on MEHL and MEC, the military conglomerates. But I think, with the events of the military coup in February 1st, all of our plans and all of our strategies have been, thrown into confusion. And it's a very real threat, obviously, to the Rohingya for the architects of the genocide, the Myanmar military, to have total power. But there's also an incredible opportunity, as you've been pointing out and as Kelly pointed out, with this civil disobedience movement inside Myanmar that is aimed at ending military rule. And they're going after the Myanmar military's business interests inside Myanmar. And we're working with groups like Justice for Myanmar that's been digging up all the research on Minong Lang's business interests, on the military's business interests, and wherever they turn up a foreign company that is doing business with the military, we will target them with overwhelming consumer, shareholder, media power until they end that.
Very good.
And we're very much, we're inspired by the campaign against apartheid in South Africa, and we're using the tools that the international community did. And we're exacting our own citizen accountability and citizen sanctions directly of the Myanmar military. So I'll put it to you, and I am going to get to a question. And yes, I'd like to go a little bit deeper. Your comments about the civil disobedience movement in Myanmar, and how do you think that also represents an opportunity to hold the military accountable and to create the conditions inside Myanmar so that the Rohingya will return to their original homes.
Thank you. Thank you for your question. Many years ago, when I was visiting the Arlington Cemetery, and if I remember, I saw the JFK's, this Robert Kennedy's mausoleum, the Robert Kennedy's little graveyard. And I remember I read something, and he said, I cannot quote it correctly the way he said, it's written up there, you can visit. And he said that if you raise the right cause and fight for it, then someone else will join you. And then another one, and then another one. And when many people will join to fight for your cause, the worst tyrant, the mighty tyrants will sword away. There is no something like, even the mightiest of mightiest tyrant is sure to crumble. So we are talking of just cause. We are talking of humanity. We are talking of, so if we can create this across, even inside Myanmar, there must be good people in Myanmar. You see, a lot of good people in Myanmar. So if we can, and they need little assurance, less assurance of security. And if we can provide those, they can create on their own a mighty opinion, against tyrants. And the tyrant will come down, and maybe, even in Myanmar there is they have recognized around 125 ethnic groups. But they did not recognize the Rohingya one, although they are one of the oldest. They had a kingdom, I don't know. These Rohingyas were in the cabinet. You see, even as early as 1962, when they got the liberation from British, even in 48 or others, there are Rohingya cabinet members. Not one, 4 or 5 of them. They're members of parliament. But now they have been defranchised. Very sad indeed. And so I agree with you. This is so sad. I see till today, the Myanmar, the military operations has good business, jade and all the precious stones. And people from the developed industrial countries buy those at a high price, helping the military families, you see. So if there is a public opinion, and I always believe in public opinion, if a strong public opinion against those culprits who undermine humanity, and then you can create a very strong, and does not matter, you will be successful. At least I feel good about myself, that if I have if I have done some good job and I feel comfortable with it, whether I am being recognized or not, these are secondary. So if, organization like yours come forward, and I have a hope one day these Rohingya would be out of their misery.
Yeah, we can definitely hope for that, and we will.
Let's hope for that.
We will hope for that, and we will work for that, and we will organize for that.
You'll find me always with you.
Yeah. I can see that, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Foreign Minister, for joining us today. I'm delighted to hear you had a very successful trip to the United States, and thank you for joining us here at Newsline. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but we have so much more to discuss, and hopefully we'll have another opportunity to continue this conversation.
Azim, let me tell you, depressed people who suffer, they always look toward, USA. And my own personal life, when I was kicked out of my, comforts, kicked out of my country, it is USA who gave me shelter, gave me a home, gave me a living, and gave me a family. We're thankful to them. And for one reason or other, sometimes USA left us some of its responsibility. And now I'm glad with the new administration, which is highly mature, has been with the government for years, hopefully they will take a lead. And we are looking forward to that. Excellent. And I'm looking forward for the repatriation, safe, voluntary, and dignified repatriation of this Rohingya people back to their country of origin. Thank you.
And with those positive words, we have to wrap up. But thank you, everybody, for joining us who's online. And do tune in again for our next event. Thank you so much and have a good afternoon.